This is a stimulus update and daily news report. AOC and progressive Democrats are pressuring President Biden to release information about student loan forgiveness, whether we are getting it or not, and gave a deadline of when to do so. I'll give you more details on that. One new city is giving out $500 per month checks for 3 years in a row. We'll talk about the latest with stimulus checks. Also, Chuck Schumer's speech made Joe Manchin and Republicans very unhappy. You can see right here Joe Manchin's head in his hands, and he was not too happy. He actually threw out the F word at Chuck Schumer. I'll play you a video clip of what happened there. Also play a video clip from President Biden talking about the Build Back Better plan and unemployment. Then I'll answer the questions you leave for me in the comments. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. Let's start with the political drama first, and I want to get your opinion on this. So Senator Schumer blasted Republicans after the debt ceiling reprieve. He was criticized for it by Senator Manchin, and not just Joe Manchin, but others as well. So Schumer frustrates GOP Manchin with fiery debt ceiling speech. And then the kicker right here, Joe Manchin joined with Senate Republicans in condemning Chuck Schumer's classless speech before debt limit vote. You could see Joe Manchin's head in his hands right here, really disappointed with what Chuck Schumer had to say in the speech. I'm going to play you that speech in a moment, but first, little backstory. So the debt limit extension vote passed the other day in the Senate, which means that, assuming that it passes in the House, we're not going to have the U.S. default on his debt October 18th. So Republicans, 11 of them, including Mitch McConnell, who vowed that they were not going to help Democrats, reached out a helping hand to help the Democrats avoid this big catastrophe, as well as the country. And the Democrats basically used that hand for help and then slapped it away right after. So Schumer gave a speech condemning Republicans before the Senate voted to raise the debt ceiling. Manchin and Republicans said it was out of line after 11 Republicans helped Democrats to hold the vote. Manchin reportedly told Schumer his speech was effing stupid, and Republicans said it was time to be graceful. So I'm not going to say the actual word there, but I'm sure you could use your imagination of what Joe Manchin said. So basically, Joe Manchin was not happy with it because he didn't like how the Republicans reached out, helped the Democrats, and at this point, Chuck Schumer just kind of bashed them anyway. Here's the video clip, and let me know what your thoughts are on this.
Leader McConnell and Senate Republicans insisted they wanted a solution to the debt ceiling, but said Democrats must raise it alone by going through a drawn-out, convoluted, and risky reconciliation process. That was simply unacceptable to my caucus, and yesterday Senate Republicans finally realized that their obstruction was not going to work. I very much thank, my Democratic colleagues for showing our unity in solving this Republican-manufactured crisis. Despite immense opposition from Leader McConnell and members of his conference, our caucus held together, and we pulled our country back from the cliff's edge that Republicans tried to push us over. This is a temporary but necessary and important fix. I appreciate that at the end of the day, we were able to raise the debt limit without a convoluted and unnecessary reconciliation process that until today, the Republican leader claimed was the only way to address the debt limit. Let me say that again.
Why was not appropriate?
I just think that basically what we got to do is find the pathway forward to make sure that we de-weaponize. We have to de-weaponize. You can't be playing politics. None of us can, on both sides.
Let me know your thoughts on all that down in the comments below. My personal opinion, I don't like seeing fighting in general, and the fighting especially between Democrats and Republicans. So any type of speech condemning one party, whether it's Republicans bashing the Democrats or Democrats bashing the Republicans, I don't like any of that because it doesn't help the American people one bit. So McConnell vows GOP won't help raise debt ceiling in December after Schumer tantrum. Basically, McConnell saying, all right, after that whole thing that Chuck Schumer said, now we're definitely not helping, which means we're going to revisit this same drama December 3rd or before December 3rd deadline. So Biden has 2 weeks. Let's move on to the next thing with student loan forgiveness. So Biden has 2 weeks to give answers on canceling student debt broadly, AOC, Ilhan Omar, and 12 other Democrats say. So basically they're telling Biden, hey, 6 months ago, April 1st, you mentioned that you were going to talk to the Secretary of Education. You were going to let us know if the president has the power to use executive order to cancel student loans. And we haven't heard back from President Biden. So now what the progressive Democrats are saying is they wrote him a letter and they want to know what's going on. So Biden asked the Education Department 6 months ago to review his authority to cancel student debt. On Friday, 14 Democrats demanded the results of that review to be released October 22nd, and Biden's administration has been quiet on broad cancellation but enacted targeted loan forgiveness. So President Biden promised on his campaign that he was going to forgive at least $10,000 for all federal student loan borrowers, which is a big promise. And progressive Democrats are just following up on that promise, saying, hey, what's going on? So here's the letter right here. This was written October 8th, yesterday, Friday, going to the Honorable Joseph R. Biden, as well as the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona. So in this letter, basically, they're talking about, hey, you promised that you were going to release information in a matter of weeks. It's been over 6 months regarding student loan forgiveness. We want to know what's going on. They're not giving any numbers. They didn't say whether it was going to be 10,000 or 50,000, just about the power of whether or not the president could do that or not. So that's basically what this whole letter is about. You can see down here, it's AOC as well as the squad, all the progressive Democrats and stuff. So they want to know what's going on, and they're demanding a date by October 22nd. They want to be notified of what's going on. Now that timing, October 22nd, really interesting because the October 31st deadline for that big Build Back Better plan is just a week away, meaning that, let's say President Biden says, yes, I can forgive student loans, and they receive this information by October 22nd, progressive Democrats may use that as more leverage to try to get that into the Build Back Better plan and say they're not going to vote for it unless it has student loan forgiveness, or try to have President Biden do something like that before they vote for the Build Back Better plan. So really a strategic date there. I'm just kind of connecting the dots, but let me know your thoughts on all that down in the comments below. Do you think President Biden should forgive student loans? Let me know your thoughts on that. New City is giving out $500 monthly checks for 3 years with new program. So this is going on in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and it's going to give $500 a month for 3 years. That's actually the longest time period. Usually it's like 1 to 2 years, but 3 years, it's pretty long. So it's going to cost $24 million. Also give you another universal basic income update for other cities in the next video, 1 or 2 next videos. Also, when it comes to stimulus checks, so another article just came out for the senior stimulus. Advocacy group proposes one-time $1,400 payment for Social Security recipients. So I mentioned this in yesterday's video, starting to see a little more press, starting to pick up a little more promotion. But as I mentioned before, I want to be straight up with you. It is not in that Build Back Better plan, that Part 2 human infrastructure reconciliation bill. It's not in there. There's no general force stimulus check either, but they are trying to promote it. And no politicians have endorsed this $1,400 stimulus check for seniors yet either. When it comes to the fourth general stimulus check, the $2,000 per month to every American Change.org petition, it's currently at 2,919,000 signatures, getting really close to 3 million. Just a reminder, that is not in the package as well. No fourth stimulus check mentioned. So Biden boasts about unemployment rate after weak September jobs report. Here is a video clip of President Biden talking about unemployment and what's going to happen moving forward.
The American unemployment rate is below 5%. In just 8 months since I became president, in the midst of a grave public health and economic crisis, the unemployment rate is now down below 5% at 4.8%. Let me just repeat that. Today's report has the unemployment rate down to 4.8%, a significant improvement from when I took office and a sign that our recovery is moving forward, even in the face of a COVID pandemic. That improvement was widespread. Unemployment for Hispanic workers was down, and the unemployment rate for African Americans fell almost a full percent, and it's now below 8% for the first time in 17 months. A drop of 496,000 in long-term unemployment is the second largest single-month drop since we started keeping records. The largest was in July. So in the past 3 months, we've seen a drop of 1.3 million long-term unemployed. That's the largest 3-month fall in long-term unemployment since we started keeping records in 1948. More to do, but great progress. And working Americans are seeing their paychecks go up as well. In September, we saw one of the largest increases in average wages paid to workers, working Americans on record. Today's report comes one day after the Labor Department found, in the third quarter of this year, the number of layoffs and job reductions was the lowest in this country since 1997. Overall, the unemployment report shows almost 200,000 jobs were created last month, over 300,000 in the private sector, and 26,000 in manufacturing, offset by some seasonal adjustments in education hiring. The monthly totals bounce around, but if you take a look at the trend, it's solid. On average, 600,000 new jobs created every month since I took office. And in 3 months before I got there, that was 1/10 what was being created. It's 60 to 60,000 as opposed to 600,000 jobs a month. In total, the job creation in the first 8 months of my administration is nearly 5 million jobs. Jobs up, wages up, unemployment down. That's progress. And it's a tribute to the hard work and resilience of the American people who are battling through this pandemic, working to keep their businesses afloat. Remember, today's report is based on a survey that was taken during the week of September the 13th. Not today, September the 13th, when COVID cases were averaging more than 150,000 per day. Since then, we've seen the daily cases fall by more than 1/3, and they're continuing to trend down. We're continuing to make progress. Right now, things in Washington, as you all know, are awfully noisy. Turn on the news and every conversation is a confrontation. Every disagreement is a crisis. But when you take a step back and look at what's happening, we're actually making real progress. Maybe it doesn't seem fast enough. I'd like to see it faster, and we're going to make it faster. But maybe it doesn't appear dramatic enough. But I too like to, as I said, move it faster. We're making consistent, steady progress, though. And thanks to bipartisan agreements, we're making progress on funding the government and raising the debt limit, so people continue to get their Social Security checks, the military continues to get paid, and so much more. We're making real progress on COVID-19 as well. More than 186 million Americans are now fully vaccinated. More than 75% of eligible Americans have gotten at least one shot. And COVID cases are down 40% in the past month. Hospitalizations are down over 25%. In July, when I announced the first vaccination requirement, about 95 million eligible Americans still had not been vaccinated. Today, we reduced that from 95 to 67 million eligible Americans that haven't been vaccinated. That's still much too much. There's more work to do, including getting more people vaccinated. But we continue to make progress. And the American Rescue Plan, which we passed shortly after I was elected, we made progress providing rent and mortgage relief to help keep roofs over people's heads. We provided checks in pockets and other benefits so families can put food on the table for their families. Hundreds of thousands of loans to help small businesses stay open and keep employees on the job getting paid. Today, towns and cities and states that were at risk of losing hundreds of thousands of jobs before because they didn't have the budget to pay, we helped make their payroll for them so they could keep teachers, police officers, firefighters, essential workers on the job, helping schools stay open with the equipment and resources needed to keep students and educators safe. And we finally gave a tax break, I've been looking at this for a long time, to families with children, which as I speak is providing monthly checks for more families for 60 million children. $300 per month for every child under the age of 7, $250 per month for every child under the age of 17. Keeping the tax cut, it's a tax cut for these people, and cutting child poverty nearly in half, over 40%.
So it's kind of an ironic speech because he's saying that the unemployment rate has gone down below 5% to 4.8%, which is pretty good, but 192,000 jobs were added, which is not much. So it's kind of mixed results there. And as a result, Biden turns back on reporters and refuses to take questions after remarks on dismal jobs report. So probably going to ask him about the lack of jobs, and maybe that's why he skipped the interview. I'm not sure. Next, I'm going to answer the questions you leave for me in the comments. Janet Morgan asks, what about getting rid of the debt ceiling? So that's one of the things that they want to do as well, get rid of the debt ceiling. There hasn't been any mention of trying to get rid of it before this December 3rd deadline. So maybe they could get rid of it before December 3rd and then we don't even have to worry about it. I don't know if they have to pay it off first and then try to get rid of it. Yeah, so we're not sure about that. Tammy Webster, I'm not understanding any of this. Who's getting the stimulus check? So unfortunately, there's no fourth stimulus check. There's proposals for it for a $1,400 check for seniors. Fourth stimulus check, there's a petition, but at this time, there's no fourth stimulus check in the package. Next question comes from the only 196. Bro, why you damn so close to the camera? Good question. Let me know down in the comments below. Am I too close to the camera? The reason why actually is because I had to switch mics, and this mic I have to be really close to, and it's kind of connected to the camera. You can't see it, it's right off screen. If I step back over here, you can't really hear it as well, I'm sure. And so I could put a little microphone here and that'll help. I could stand further away, but then it'll, I don't know, not sure what to do about that, but let me know. Am I too close to the screen? Is it distracting? Do you want me to be step further away? Let me know down in the comments below. That is all the stimulus news I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit.